Welcome again to another CheapWineFinder.com podcast for wine we put on the CheapWineFinder.com website today. And we're in party mode, and this is a wine we put on, I think, 2019, 2020, and now again 2022. And the reason we keep on going back to it is because it sells for $4.99 at Aldi's, and it's a sparkling wine. And the name of it is the Burlwood Cellars Brut Rosé, $4.99 for bubbly. The back label tells us that someone from Modesto, California made it, and that's the headquarters for E&J Gallo. So it would seem that it would be likely that some entity of Gallo made this wine. And it's $4.99, so you're going, oh no. But it sells in places where there is no Aldi for $10 to $12. And a $10 to $12 sparkling wine today from California is probably going to be pretty good. So there we go, and I'm going to take a sip of this wine. It's a rosé. It's kind of got a almond or salmon pink, not almond, salmon. It's a pretty color. It's got some bubbles, little tiny bubbles. Doesn't taste bad for $4.99. It has flavors that remind you of hard candies, but never gets that sweet. There's some sweetness on the finish. I think this is a brut wine, which means it's on the dry side. But it kind of is probably close to extra dry. It's probably near the cutoff, because at the very on the finish there's some sweetness to it. It's made in the Charmat method, which is how Prosecco is made, and that is they ferment the wine once to their house style, and all the magic's in the first fermentation. And then they age it, they do all the stuff they're supposed to do to wine, and then they stick it in these huge pressurized vats, and they put the wine in there, and they add some measured amount of sugar and yeast, crank up the pressure to the desired amount, and I don't think this one's got a crazy amount in it. They measure the pressure in wine bottles in atmospheres, and I think champagne can be up to 7 atmospheres in there. And Prosecco is like 3.5 maybe. And this one's maybe a lighter style. I mean, the bubbles die out fairly quickly, but they're there and they're tiny. And one that's in that pressurized vat, it becomes, the bubbles get incorporated into the wine within a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Inexpensive wines are less. The fancy Proseccos are months. Take another sip. It's not a complex bubbly at all. I mean, usually I talk about a mid-palate when I talk about wine, because there's usually a change in flavors. The first burst you get kind of fades and a second wave comes. This one doesn't have that second wave, but what's up front's fine. And it does disappear quickly, which for champagne is good. I mean, champagne should kind of not stick around with you. It should hit you and go. And the acidity is not bad. It doesn't bite. It sets your palate up for the next sip. And that's kind of like a good bubbly should. And so it's like $4.99 at Aldi. I mean, it's I don't think it's necessarily some certain sparkling wine, champagne styles, Proseccos are food wines. Like you want to maybe get a cheese tray or some some kind of just small plates. This one's just to sip and have a good time with. This is a fun bubbles. This doesn't really go beyond that, but that's fine. At $5, it's wonderful that it does that. I'm gonna take another sip. I mean, it does taste okay. Yeah, we don't know much about it. We don't know which grapes are used. But it seems to deliver year in and year out. They also have a Burlwood Cellars extra dry, and not the rosé. So that's the extra dry is just pretty much all white grapes. And the Brut has some red grapes in. We don't know what they are. I don't think it's Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier like champagne. It's probably an interesting mix. I mean, I can't complain. The flavor's good. That's where it comes from, and that's fine. So we've been doing this like party wines, and sometimes we go upscale. And if you can find a $5 wine that, like you can have a party where you have 5 bottles of bubbly for $30, and you have friends over, they're going to be talking and not paying attention. And, if they're not wine people, this is champagne lovers are not going to go for this. I mean, whatever. I mean, it's but anybody else is going to have a good time with it. It's fun, If the wine's fun, then who's to complain? And this is fun wine. It tastes good. It's $4.99, which is silly cheap. From Aldi, the Burlwood Cellars Brut Rosé. And for the holidays, I mean, this is a Tuesday night, watching whatever bad movie you want to watch and just enjoying yourself and having a couple guests over and everybody's drinking bubbles out of a red paper cup or whatever. You don't have to be fancy with this. So that's it for me, Domain Dave from CheapWineFighter.com. We're going to start hitting some more, not Halloween wine. I get holiday just pop into my head. Thanksgiving wines, maybe a Riesling, maybe another Pinot Noir, maybe a Beaujolais if I can find one I like. And that'll be coming up in a couple of days. And like us, we like your podcast. I have to say that, according to the law says so. And keep it cheap, stay safe and warm because it's going to get cold. And adios. I'll be talking to everybody in a couple of days. Keep it cheap. Bye-bye.